Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the FAU Marine Lab. So we study sea
You are
turtles
sponsored
here.
by the university, right?
Yes, Florida
Okay.
Atlantic University.
Go ahead.
So we bring in sea turtles here, and our main study that we're looking at is how many sea turtles are boys and girls. The reason we're looking at that is because they have something called temperature-dependent sex determination. So that means the warmer the nest, we're going to get more females. The cooler the nest, we're going to get more males. And with the really warm temperatures that we have here in South Florida, we get an extreme female bias. So we're trying to see if the numbers that we're seeing are normal and sustainable. But we bring these guys in here, we keep them for a few months, and then we send them back out to the ocean. So they're only here with us for a few months until they're about this big. So we get bigger baskets for them, but they can stay in those little tanks, and then we release them back out to the ocean.
Great. Hey, thanks for the info.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Species in here.
Okay, what do we have here?
So we have a sea star, a sea urchin, and then there's a little triggerfish that's swimming around up there.
Okay.
And then in here we have some anemones, some beaded rock flowers. They're pretty cool. And I believe we have a scorpion fish in there as well, which is right here. You can see him right there.
Okay.
It's in the
What
same
is it called?
family, scorpion fish.
Oh.
Yeah, it's in the same family as like the lionfish, so it's venomous. You don't want to step on any of the spines or anything like that. But it still looks pretty cool.
Is that bad as the lionfish?
Oh no, so this is local to our area. So the lionfish is invasive, but this guy lives in Florida waters.
Okay. Okay. What about the other one?
Seahorses right here. And then there's a little red lip blenny on the filter in the back there.
Okay.
It's a funny looking fish.
and this is the horse, the
Seahorses.
seahorses,
yes.
right? What a beauty.
Yeah, and you can see some of them have different colors. Like this one over here is really yellow, so they vary in color a little bit.
Beautiful.
But they're all the same species.
Yeah. How many you have in here? Just two?
I believe there's 4 or 5 in there.
Okay. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
Is in hiding. He likes to go into those rocks. He is still there. Yeah. He hides in there. Volunteer here for 3 years at Gumbo Limbo. Our center here is very involved. Education, research, conservation, and community up in our mission statement, which is to be inspire stewardship of our marine and coastal ecosystems. So by the end of today's program, I hope you will be inspired. Turtle season, as you may know, because you've seen signs along the highway, goes from March 1 until October 31st. That's 8 months long. We have a conservation team that goes out every single morning and walks along the beach because the turtles that nest on our shores come up at nighttime. So by going out at sunrise, they see the tracks, they can follow it to where the nest is, they mark it off with stakes and orange tape, and they put a date on it. That way they know when to check that nest and when it's going to hatch. Now they do that rain or shine. Now when the turtles come up, they are made to swim very fast in the water, but on land it's very cumbersome. They have to use their huge front flippers to pull themselves, drag themselves through the sand. When they find a nesting spot, what they like to do is they use their front flippers and they push away the dry sand. They get down to a low profile and then use their back flippers to dig out a nest. And that nest can go down 2.5 to 3 feet. They then will drop, on average, 100 ping pong sized balls of eggs into the nest. They cover it up and they return to the sea, never to check on that nest again. No maternal instincts among our turtles. Now the turtles will do that 4, 5, sometimes even 6 times during the season. And with 100 eggs each nest, you would think that that would really help our turtle population. But our turtles are all endangered. And you want to guess how many survive out of 1,000? Anyone want to guess? 1. 1 out of 1,000. In fact, some scientists say it's 1 out of 5,000. You know, can you imagine when these turtles hatch, 45 to 60 days after they're dropped in the nest, they're only the size of a silver dollar. And everybody wants to eat them. The sharks, the herons, the foxes, the raccoons, the ghost crabs, the red ants. They have a big struggle. Now I mentioned that they will hatch in 45 to 50 or 60 days. A lot depends on where they're located, how much rain we had, because the temperature of the nest will determine whether there are more females or more males born in that nest. Now the hotter the temperature, the more females you're going to have, and the cooler the temperatures, the more males. So what do you think we've got out on our beaches? A lot of females, right? Yeah. In fact, some nests have been up to 100% female. Not good for our diversity at all. Now, there's a good way to remember that. You say, hot chicks and cool dudes. So you can remember the temperature. Now, things like whether they're in the dunes, whether they're in the shadow, whether it rains, how hot the temperature, all of these things have an impact. Now, when the eggs hatch, and they hatch at nighttime, they communicate in the sand, they all start crawling up and they make their way to the brightest horizon, which is our ocean, and they go out to sea. Our team then waits 72 hours and they go and excavate those nests. They dig down in and they take the data. They want to see how many hatched, how many didn't, and very often we will find baby turtles at the bottom. We will bring those turtles back here, and then that night we will take them out. And they will swim like crazy for 24 to 48 hours until they reach the sargassum seaweed line. There they'll live for the next year or 2 until they grow a little bit bigger. There's plenty of food, there's shelter, there's everything they need. So that's really important. Now in this tank we have 2, well first of all let's talk about the turtles that nest on our beaches. Anyone want to call out a name of one of the 3 species? I can't hear. Yep, green turtle. That's what we have in this tank. The first turtles that come up are leatherbacks. They come up in the beginning of March and will lay their eggs through April, May. And they're called leatherbacks because their shell is very pliable, leathery, and rubbery-like. And that's because they like to eat jellyfish. And sometimes to get to those sea jellies, they've got to go down 3,000, 4,000 feet. So you can imagine the pressure that is put upon their bodies. If they didn't have that flexible shell, they would implode. That is the only one of the 7 species that has a pliable shell. And then our next turtle that comes ashore is our loggerhead. And it has a perfectly good reason. Its head looks like a log. It has the biggest head of the sea turtles. And that's because they like to eat things like lobster and crab. And their jaw is 80% muscle. That allows them to actually craft a conch shell. If you've ever held or seen a conch shell, you know how big they are and how heavy they can be. The loggerhead is powerful enough that he can crack that shell to get to the morsel inside. And then our third species to come up, she comes up usually in June and will lay her eggs and nest through September, is the green sea turtle. And this is a little bit trickier because the green sea turtle you can see in the tank is not green. So why do we call it green? That's because when she's born, she is a omnivore. She eats everything that she can get her hands on or her mouth around. But as she grows older, she prefers to eat algae and sea grasses and sea lettuces. So that turns her fatty tissue green. So that's why she gets the nickname green sea turtle. Now back in the 40s and 50s down in the Keys, green sea turtles were very popular for green turtle soup. And they were almost hunted to extinction. So the laws on conservation laws were enacted in Florida, and our green turtles are slowly making a comeback. But as I said, they're still endangered. Now in this tank, we have two green sea turtles. They're both subadults. Morgan is about 15 to 20 years old, and she weighs 132 pounds. She is the one that has the little carapace, the little block on the back of her shell. In 2014, she was hit by a boat propeller, and it went across her shell. Her shell has healed, but there is gas trapped underneath of it, giving her a buoyancy disorder. So when she swims along, would swim along with her tail up in the air. She would have great trouble getting down to the depth. By putting that block on her back, we can create a neutral buoyancy. Now, she's only 132 pounds now, but she can get up to 350 to 400 pounds. So she's going to get 3 times that size. We'll keep making the weight heavier as she grows. She is non-releasable because of her injury. Lady McNubbin is the other one in our tank, and she was stranded in Melbourne in 2021. She washed ashore, and Lady McNubbin, you can tell, she's missing her 2 front flippers. She's a little bit lighter. She's only 80 pounds, and she's probably 10 to 15 years of age. She was first cared for at the Brevard Zoo Turtle Healing Center, and then moved down here. She will be only here for a couple years, and then she will go into the Bowen Aquarium, sea aquarium, that will be opening in Cape Canaveral. Port Canaveral, sorry. And she will become their first turtle resident. But we have her for the next couple years. And we don't know her injuries because she came to us without a history, but she has, you can see, she's missing all of her right flipper and a lot of her left flipper. She is non-releasable because, one, she could not swim fast enough to get away from her predators, and or swim fast enough to catch prey that she needs to eat. So she is going to be a permanent resident and will be here. Now, I'm going to pause for a second so that we can give them their daily enrichment. And the daily enrichment consists of romaine lettuce and green pepper. Today we're also going to attach a zucchini. I know last week we tried a cucumber and they liked it. Here comes the salad bars now. And what we like to do is we like to have these salad bars because they mimic what the sea turtle would do in the wild. And they get to have their green. So you can see the green pepper and the lettuce. Now there are lots of things that are threatening our poor turtles. One of the biggest one, of course, is the shrimp trawler line, the gill net, and long line hooks. And so we encourage everybody to make sure when you make seafood choices that you buy only seafood that is sustainable and has been labeled so. That means it's raised according to regulation and it's not endangered other wildlife. Other threats, of course, are trauma, like predator strikes, like a shark, or it could have been a boat strike. Those are also, because these turtles have to come up to the surface to breathe water, or to breathe air, they are right there in the way of a boat. So if you're on a boat and can have somebody be a designated turtle spotter, that would be fantastic. If you have polarized glasses, that also will help you find them. And of course, pollution is definitely a major problem. Plastic will wash out into the shore, and what happens, the plastic breaks down into microplastics, but it never, ever goes away. And those tiny pieces of plastic look just like plankton and larvae, and so the turtles will eat it. Last summer, we had about a 9-inch turtle that washed ashore. We did an autopsy on it, and it had nearly 900 pieces of plastic in its stomach. So obviously, it was eating the wrong stuff and died of starvation. So that's another thing we can do. If you're on a boat near coastal, please make sure you go slow for those below, because we don't want to hit them. I hope that you've been inspired to be a steward of our marine and coastal system. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and I'll be here for the next few minutes, so please don't hesitate. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day at Gumbo Limbo.